Sometimes nature reminds us how furious it can get. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 devastating storms in history.
Its 140-mile-an-hour winds pummel the coasts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama.
For this list, we'll be ranking the storms that caused the most impact, destruction, or loss of life. Whether they were hurricanes, blizzards, or tornadoes, these storms remain some of the most catastrophic on record.
And these grains of sand, people would say, could strip the paint off of your car.
Number 10, Hurricane Camille.
Thousands of buildings along this beach were just 10 feet above sea level. Their destruction was 15 hours away.
Category 5 hurricanes are a pretty big deal, with only 3 having made landfall within the United States during the 20th century. Hurricane Camille arrived with an enormous amount of atmospheric pressure, gaining steam over the Gulf of Mexico before charging into Mississippi and Virginia with devastating results. Storm surges from Camille topped out at over 20 feet, while wind gusts cranked up to an astonishing 175 miles per hour. All in all, 1969's Hurricane Camille was an expensive and deadly storm, killing over 250 people and costing the affected areas billions of dollars in damage.
The catalog of death and destruction almost equaled that of Mississippi.
Number 9, Hurricane Mitch. Central America felt the wrath of a Category 5 hurricane in 1998 when Mitch came to town. Hurricane Mitch was the deadliest hurricane to strike the Atlantic in 2 centuries when it steamrolled over Honduras and Nicaragua from late October to early November. Mitch was a slow-moving storm and, as a result, inundated these 2 countries with disastrous amounts of rainfall, totaling almost 3 feet over its landfall.
The river came this high and it destroyed everything. It was a nice building right here.
Add to this the fact that Hurricane Mitch displaced and killed over 11,000 people, and you have one scary snapshot of nature at its most furious.
Deaths due to catastrophic flooding made it the second deadliest Atlantic hurricane in history.
Number 8, Typhoon Nina. One of the most life-threatening elements of any storm is severe rainfall, and the flooding that occurs as a result. Typhoon Nina presented profound evidence of this fact when it struck China and Taiwan in the summer of 1975. As a result of the rapid rainfall, buildings collapsed and lives were ruined, with the Banqiao Dam giving way after receiving almost 5.5 feet of rain in only 6 hours. However, Nina's flooding broke a total of 62 dams, submerging thousands of kilometers of land. Disease also came as a result and caused the death toll to rise even further, adding another 145,000, with Nina's carnage ranking as the 4th deadliest tropical cyclone in history. Number 7, the Dust Bowl. We've already discussed the dangerous power of excessive rainfall, but what happens when the exact opposite occurs? Critical drought afflicted the Great Plains regions of the U.S. and Canada during the 1930s, creating the weather phenomenon now known as the Dust Bowl.
We saw this cloud coming in, black dirt. And I'll never forget my grandmother, she said, "You kids run and get together, the end of the world's coming."
Excessively dry conditions, extreme windstorms, and poor agricultural planning combined to create conditions that forced people from their homes in states like Oklahoma. Making things worse, the Dust Bowl also happened to take place during the Great Depression, which only exacerbated the deadly conditions of the black blizzards, when swirling, blinding topsoil dirt choked entire regions of farmland.
This has got to be a cataclysm that we don't just see as an environmental parable, which it is, but as a human story, a human drama, in some ways unequaled in this tiny, forgotten part of this glorious continent.
Number 6, Hurricane Katrina. The 2005 storm and ensuing hurricane stand in recent memory as a cautionary tale. New Orleans was ill-prepared for such a catastrophe, lacking proper defense against surges. The bulk of the casualties, both in life and property, were lost as a result of this lack of preparedness. The damage from Hurricane Katrina was not only felt upon impact, but well afterwards as well, as hurricane victims criticized the U.S. government's slow response time in supplying much-needed aid to the afflicted states.
Looting and violence are so widespread that police are forced to stop rescue operations to combat the problem.
Flooding, looting, and chaos were rampant in the storm's wake, despite mandatory evacuation orders. New Orleans was perhaps the hardest hit, but truly no one living in the Gulf states during this time will ever forget the astonishing impact of Hurricane Katrina.
Their lives forever changed by the power of a hurricane.
Number 5. The Bola Cyclone. The deadliest tropical cyclone on record assaulted East Pakistan, or modern-day Bangladesh, and parts of India during November of 1970, bringing with it catastrophic damage and as many as 500,000 dead. The Bola cyclone didn't only cause physical repercussions, however, as the perceived poor relief efforts of East Pakistan leader Yahya Khan gave rise to electoral tensions and civil war. This conflict resulted in the establishment of what is now known as Bangladesh, tying together political turmoil and natural disaster to create a perfect storm of destructive storm surges and violent military clashes. Ex-Beatle George Harrison even helped organize a benefit concert fundraiser for the afflicted areas, titled The Concert for Bangladesh. Number 4. The Iran Blizzard.
This is the most deadly snowstorm on record.
It may be surprising to think of Iran getting as much snow as North American cities, but the Iran blizzard of 1972 saw some deadly serious snowfall. Indeed, over 10 feet of snow fell in about a week's time. Frigid temperatures, as well as a distinct lack of medicine, food, or communication, made conditions even worse. Rescue workers were forced to face frozen bodies in buried cities when they attempted to reach stranded citizens in scattered small towns. To make things worse, a brief 24-hour break from the snow was followed by yet more blizzard conditions, further burying Iran in blankets of white. Number 3. The Tri-State Tornado. The United States saw the deadliest tornado in their history barrel through the country's borders, right smack dab in the middle of the Roaring '20s. The Tri-State Tornado takes its name from the fact that 3 states were affected by the twister's devastating road of destruction during the spring of 1925: Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri. This storm was also known for its incredible speed and power, to the point that it's now thought that more than one tornado was involved in the over 200 miles traveled. It destroyed property left and right, including 9 schools, while simultaneously causing over $2 billion US in damage adjusted for inflation. Number 2. The Dalatpur Chaturya Tornado. Bangladesh appears for the second time on our list, reminding us that the country has incredibly bad luck when it comes to tornadoes. The U.S. National Weather Service recognizes the Dalatpur Chaturya tornado, or the Bangladesh tornado, as the deadliest ever recorded. Carving along a 50-mile swath of damage on April 26, 1989, the tornado left tens of thousands without homes, while 1,300 lost their lives when engulfed by the twister's immense power and unpredictable nature. Indeed, many of the most poverty-stricken areas of Bangladesh were hit hardest, with Chaturya and Maniganj completely obliterated once this storm finally finished its assault. Before we reveal our most devastating storm, here are some honorable, or in this case dishonorable, mentions. Number 1. The Great Galveston Hurricane. This is the great-granddaddy of monster storms. The city of Galveston, Texas was a haven for tourists and industrialists alike, and was chock full of visitors when this Category 4 storm rocked the area back in 1900. It was reported that 6,000 to 12,000 people lost their lives during the Galveston storm, thanks to the generally dismissive attitude towards reports of the storm's severity. By the time official word of the hurricane's power arrived, it was too late. The Galveston storm racked up the highest loss of life ever recorded for a hurricane in the United States, with the modern equivalent of nearly $600 million in damage as well.
Many of them left Galveston later because they couldn't overcome the loss to their family.
Do you agree with our list? Which storm sticks out in your mind as the most devastating? For more weather-watching top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
After the storm we went through on Monday, everything shouldn't be back to normal by Friday. It's going to take time.